the FBI just discovered a secret suitcase hidden in Diddy's mother's basement. Inside are tapes and memory cards which could shake Hollywood.
It began at the hour no city expects trouble, 5:17 a.m., when an unmarked FBI convoy drifted into Mount Vernon, New York. Lights off, sirens dead, tires whispering over rain-damp asphalt. Neighbours, roused by instinct rather than noise, lifted blinds in time to see agents in charcoal fatigues stride toward the modest brick house once deeded to Janice Combs. They carried neither battering ram nor bullhorn. They carried purpose, a stack of warrants and a schematic of floor joists memorised down to the inch. The first pry bar bit wood, floorboards groaned, and a sulphur-sweet odour, rot mixed with bleach, rose like a curse into the dawn air. Minutes later, a grainy cell phone shot of a body bag emerging from that basement rocketed through Telegram and X, christening the moment number Diddygate and detonating a question that would stalk every feed for weeks. What was hip-hop's mogul of moguls truly willing to bury beneath his own mother's feet? By mid-morning, the scene resembled a makeshift war lab, 3D scanners stalking joists, ground-penetrating radar humming, forensic techs in moon-white Tyvek photographing evidence on stainless trays. 3 corpses surfaced first, shrink-wrapped head to toe, desiccated into horrific marionettes. Juvenile bones atop a woman's frame, atop a broad-shouldered male whose jaw showed a fused fracture. Wedged between plastic layers was a half-burned leather notebook, ink smeared yet clear enough to display concentric sigils favoured by fringe cults. One veteran agent whispered it felt less like disposal, more like staging, as though the killer intended discovery all along, or wanted the scene to read like a flex. Inside FBI headquarters, an emergency council materialised before sunrise. DOJ attorneys, forensic linguists, cyber sleuths, watching fresh Polaroids while a smart wall map of Combs-controlled properties glowed crimson. 2 addresses jumped to priority, a Harlem brownstone where Diddy once slept on a twin mattress, and a Miami penthouse famed for invitation-only after-parties that reporters could never get past the lobby. To every official, the pattern screamed network, not one-off crime. Bodies in one borough, money in another, cameras everywhere in between. Names of the vanished resurfaced like ghosts clawing for airtime. Kiara B., the 19-year-old backup dancer who exited a rehearsal in 2014 and dissolved into rumour, suddenly felt terrifyingly present. Child-sized remains from Mount Vernon matched her height and a healed ankle fracture in her closed case file. Samantha Lee, a freelance model last spotted at a Hamptons garden party in 2010, re-entered news cycles when dental charts hinted she was victim too. And the male with the ruined jaw? Investigators compared x-rays to an unpublished Bronx emergency room intake for a street dancer beaten outside a secret warehouse show in 2011. Each match tightened the braid of tragedy, and each tragic braid pulled the nation deeper into revulsion. While families processed the unthinkable, X, formerly Twitter, belched speculation at broadband speed. Old interviews of Diddy boasting about sacrificing for success were recut into minor key montages. A decade-old party snapshot, masked guests, flickers of Justin Bieber, Oprah blurred in back, vaulted from forgotten Tumblr to trending top spot in 6 hours. Hashtags splintered into factions, number justice for the forgotten, number hands off Diddy, number basement bodies. Conspiracy podcasts live-streamed countdowns to presumed arrests, late-night hosts fought over punchlines, and for the first time in years, Fox, CNN, and ABC pressed pause on their rivalry to recycle the same hush-toned bulletins which only dialed the paranoia to fever pitch. Money trails soon eclipsed gossip. A Swiss bank statement leaked by an anonymous auditor traced $11 million, siphoned in cryptocurrency micro-withdrawals, into ATMs across Malta, Nigeria, and the Dominican Republic. The originating account had been opened with the passport of a backup dancer declared missing after Diddy's 2012 world tour. Satellite imagery placed a private Bahamian key, shell-owned by Diddy's one-time tour manager, featuring a soundstage, a lionhead statue, and a landing strip that welcomed unregistered jets at 4 a.m. Suddenly, the whispered legend of a second island for the entertainment elite felt less like tinfoil chatter and more like blueprint. Then came the BlackBerry. At 3:27 a.m, agents seized an antique phone from a Queen's storage locker rented under the alias of a former production assistant. The device belonged to Quincy Brown, Diddy's adopted son, the polished intellectual who'd stayed eerily silent. Forensic decryption unlocked hundreds of encrypted chats, backstage selfies, and a WAV file capturing a woman's strangled scream, a man barking "lock the door," and Quincy's own breathless sob. This is getting way out of hand. The discovery catapulted Quincy into a grand jury seat under round-the-clock protection. Was he whistleblower or co-conspirator, victim or inheritor? America debated while meme pages framed his face above the caption "Key to the Kingdom or Lamb to the Slaughter." Yet Quincy was only the first domino. Subpoenas crashed into 3 power law firms, 2 boutique accounting houses, and a PR syndicate known for ghostwriting influencer apologies. A retired prosecutor who declined to indict Diddy in 2009 now ran an arts charity for at-risk youth, recently infused with a $1.2 million grant from a Combs subsidiary. An ex-NYPD detective popped up on the payroll of a friendly foundation. A Netflix executive and Ellen DeGeneres surfaced together in a sealed 2012 NDA regarding a ditched reality pilot starring minors. The fortress of indulgence and indemnity, quietly humming behind velvet ropes, shuddered as every brick was hammered for fingerprints. Meanwhile, demolition crews at Mount Vernon drilled deeper and struck horror twice over. Beneath the initial grave lay rebar-reinforced cement encasing 6 more skeletons, one bound at wrists and ankles, another still wearing a rehab center ID bracelet, a third fused to camera wires. Hidden within the cement were scorched camcorders, SD cards melted into slag, yet still harbouring ghost data. FBI cyber techs coaxed out a 2-minute clip, a male voice whispering over sloshing water and rope scrape. "I told them I don't want to go back. Diddy made me," before the audio died in a wet pop. A brick bore a plea carved so deep the mortar crumbled. "Tell my mother I tried." Investigators wept, hardened agents swore, and the country's patience with celebrity absolution snapped like cheap veneer. Public mood mutated from lurid curiosity to incandescent rage. A Media Justice Institute poll found 68% of Americans no longer granted celebs the benefit of innocence at these stakes. 74% demanded every Combs-related NDA published in full. Spotify yanked Diddy's discography pending review. Ciroc pulled billboards overnight. 2 powerhouse law firms ghosted their marquee client by sunrise. Hollywood had seen implosions before, Weinstein, Epstein, Russell Brand, but never one that threatened to drag half the A-list into the crater. Yet the deeper dread hid in the periphery, the enablers who blurred into entertainment's wallpaper. A celebrity designer who supplied Grammy's gowns fled to Monaco on a diplomatic passport. A beloved talk show host shuttered her Los Angeles set under cover of creative hiatus, then sold every California holding within 48 hours. An account supervisor at a top PR shop leaked a memo instructing staff to sanitize any digital footprint linking specific clients to Combs events 2006 to 2016. Each flight, each scrubbed timeline widened suspicion until even neutral bystanders felt stained merely by proximity. The Justice Department escalated. It merged the Diddy probe with an Interpol audit of 2004 to 2016 cross-border transfers through rehab centres, artist academies and cultural exchange non-profits, most shuttered within 3 years of receiving Combs-linked funds. 13 properties nationwide had sold for pennies within 90 days of local disappearances. Pattern met motive met means. What once looked like scattered tragedies now snapped into a blueprint of systematic exploitation. Back in Manhattan, US Attorney Sandra Calderon, known for dismantling NXEVM and chasing cartel assets, formed a task force with one mission: treat the case as a racketeering enterprise cloaked in platinum records. First salvo: freeze $430 million across 31 shell LLCs, including Janice Combs' retirement fund, that had funneled $3 million to a civil rights advocacy group inside the ACLU network. Defense lawyers howled government overreach, but Judge Harkness, famed for handing down white-collar max sentences, refused every motion to seal, citing overwhelming public interest. Daily, new case files trickled into public view, Transcripts, ledger sheets, slow-motion crime scene videos, each more shattering than the last. Yet numbers alone don't haunt. Stories do. An anonymous woman testified she'd spent 3 days chained in that Mount Vernon basement after a rooftop gala. "When I screamed, they didn't gag me, they just cranked the monitors and played his own tracks," she said, eyes fixed on a spot no one else could see. A former driver described midnight runs hauling sealed crates to an unmarked Newark warehouse, paid in cash and promised VIP passes for silence. Ex-bodyguard Marcus M. Block Williams signed a 37-page affidavit for partial immunity, detailing a 2007 cleanup after a party guest fell down staircase marble loaded into a no-sirens ambulance, never filed as missing. Each statement layered dread on dread until viewers swore they smelled formaldehyde through their screens. While testimonies piled high, Diddy languished in MDC Brooklyn, pacing a bleak concrete pod. Leaked CCTV showed him muttering a phrase for 47 minutes straight. "My son, don't let them take Mom." Forensic lip readers passed every syllable, debating whether it was plea, threat, or code. The public pivoted from schadenfreude to queasy fascination. Was the mogul a monstrous puppeteer or merely the loudest note in a darker symphony orchestrated by older, colder hands? 2 days later, a satellite phone registered to Diddy's longtime attorney pinged off Atlantic Towers for a 4-minute call. Recorded lines captured an unknown male rasping, "We used to keep everything clean. If he talks, more people are going to the grave." The clip, now locked in classified vaults, shifted the case from celebrity train wreck to suspected organised crime conspiracy, aligning it less with tabloid schlock and more with continental manhunting. By mid-July, the dominoes crashed in rhythm. Project Echo, a crowdsourced archive of entertainment disappearances, logged 27 cases tied to Combs-funded events, each previously iced for insufficient evidence. Federal profilers finally voiced the unthinkable. The pattern mimicked textbook human trafficking rings, except this one wore couture, walked carpets, collected humanitarian awards, and headlined halftime shows. Congress smelled blood and ratings. An emergency hearing of the House Subcommittee on Justice invited victims' families, forensic experts, and a twitchy Hollywood publicist clutching immunity papers. Cable news cameras zoomed on every quiver. One grieving mother held up her daughter's dance shoes, size 6, saying, "He promised she'd be a star. Now all I have are shoes and a bone scan email." Her words carved silence so complete even representatives stopped scrolling on their phones. Amid the swirl, a class action suit representing 43 plaintiffs landed in federal court. It accused Combs Enterprises and unnamed co-conspirators of trafficking, wrongful death, and racketeering. Within hours, Universal Music scrubbed press photos, Live Nation cancelled a reunion tour, and Revolt TV employees staged a walkout chanting, "We want truth, not royalty checks." The cultural tide had turned. The usual PR deflections, charity galas, rehab announcements, tearful sit-downs, no longer held water. Every attempt at narrative control evaporated under the raw power of exhumed graves and a public determined not to look away. Behind secure doors, Calderon's task force mapped the final choke points. They subpoenaed flight manifests showing private jets ferrying unnamed guests between Teterboro and Nassau. They traced burner phone clusters, triangulating from Long Island mansions to a shuttered studio in Vancouver where amateur actors had been hired off Craigslist, unusual, investigators noted, for a multi-platinum budget, and they found, inside a decrypted signal thread, a chilling logistics chart titled Silent List Contingency 90 Minutes, specifying bodyweight estimates, cleaning crews, and payout columns. By dawn of August 1st, armed agents raided the Bahamian island. Drones filmed a compound wrapped in wisteria and hurricane shutters. Beneath the main villa lay subterranean rooms, a mirrored hallway, a recording booth still reeking of stale perfume, and a ledger scribbled with dates matched to missing person timelines. Outside, buried by mangroves, officers uncovered a marble plinth bearing the same concentric sigils found in Janice Combs's notebook. Whatever story the basement had whispered, the island screamed in surround sound. And still the question remained. How many accomplices does it take to sustain a nightmare for 2 decades? At last count, 41 individuals, agents, managers, accountants, influencers, had entered plea negotiations. Some sat in safe houses, others attempted midnight flights. One was detained at LAX with a suitcase of shredded contracts and $380,000 in cash. Another mailed a burnt-edge photo album to the Washington Post with a note, "If I vanish, print this." The album featured laughing celebrities in golden masks, each page timestamped 2008 to 2014. Each smile now a potential smoking gun. What then remains when the music finally cuts? A suburban basement cordoned off by police tape and floodlights, still coughing up shards of evidence. A Bahamian island poised for sonar digs. An empire once valued at $500 million, frozen midstream, decomposing under the glare it once commanded. And a public newly awake, wondering whether this blaze of outrage will outlast the algorithm's half-life, or whether, as before, fame will reforge its armour the moment attention drifts. But if the dead could speak, and through DNA swabs, audio fragments, carved brick pleas they would not shout, they would insist someone finally came. That insistence may yet drown every spin doctor, every PR firewall, every gatekeeper who helped smother the truth. Because empires built on silence always crack under the first hammer swing of justice, and once daylight pours in, darkness has nowhere left to hide. Share these names. Keep the hashtags burning. Refuse the hush money of short attention. Justice, this time, must outlive the spotlight.